Back tonight here on In Focus for more reaction on President Cyril Ramaphosa's address tonight. Joining me now is ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe. Pule, good evening and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. One of the proposals from the commission which the president needed to look at, Pule, I know you're going to respond broadly on what the president said today, but I want you to then also zero in on this particular recommendation, which is the proposal for consideration of making a necessary constitutional amendment that the president of the country be elected directly by the people. It's emerged that the NEC was meeting last week, and the task team that was tasked with, of course, looking at how the recommendations of the state capture could be implemented, found some challenge with that particular one and did not agree with it. First, your reaction to the president's response tonight, and address that particular aspect for me.
Well, evening, Tabo, and evening to the good viewers of Newzroom Afrika. We issued a statement of the NEC arising out of the Special National Executive Committee meeting that we had on Friday, which went on until the next day, actually Thursday, until Friday, the early hours of Friday, because of the weighty issues that we had to deal with. Most importantly, the issues around the Commission on State Capture and the recommendation. What the NEC had done previously was to establish a task team made up of comrades coming up out of our subcommittee on constitutional development. We, in broad terms, agreed with the thrust of the recommendations. Of course, we have expressed our own reservation and concerns on some of the issues which we felt fell outside the scope of the terms of reference of the Commission on State Capture, specifically the selection of the president independent or separate from parties. I mean, we have opted for the kind of parliamentary system that we have. And this parliamentary system enforces greater accountability and all of that. I mean, it's proportional representation. Parties, based on the number of seats that they garner, are able to then field a candidate who is elected by the National Assembly to become president. When such a person becomes a president of the Republic, they then relinquish their seats as members of parliament, but they are still able to report to the parties that forwarded them. The nature of our democracy and the accountability that it requires is such that when you work well within a party, you are able to account broadly to the members of that organization. You are also able to submit to a broad policy framework. What we have done as the ANC was this previous week, together with other parties in Parliament, we were able to affirm the Electoral Amendment Bill. What that bill does, linked to what is coming out of the Commission, it also allows independence to be able to stand. So there is no need to do any other different thing, because the constitutional amendment that you are now introducing through the electoral bill are such that the electoral bill now allows for independence to stand. You just have got to make sure that the threshold sets and all of that still allow for candidates or the candidature of those coming up independently to represent the broad thrust of South Africa's people. They've got to secure, for instance, for you to be a political party that is represented in Parliament, or a political party that is recognized by the Independent Electoral Commission, you have got to garner a certain number of signatures so that the space is not open to those that might want to use it for jobs, for access to opportunities and all of that. We've got to understand that a political role executed by political parties is not a child's play. These parties that win power.
But I think you'll agree that the recommendations of the Commission went a little bit further than the current amendment bill that is before the National Assembly and has passed the National Assembly, going to the NCOP. It envisaged a president that is not given to us by a political party, but a president that is voted for by the individuals of the country. That's what the proposal says.
Correct. That is what we're differing with. That's what I'm saying. I mean, and maybe one puts it mildly to say that there are certain instances where we felt that the commission went beyond scope. In instances where we needed to welcome the work of the commission, we have been doing that. The commission itself is on record welcoming the posture taken by the ANC throughout this period when they were faced with this difficult work that they needed to fulfill. It was the ANC, the only single party that came out continuously, consistently welcoming the work that they were doing, urging our own cadres, whom were so invited by the commission to appear, that they should use that opportunity to empower the commission on what was their understanding on those specific issues.
What is the posture of the ANC, speaking of it? When the ANC says to us, the report will guide the organization as it strives to correct itself. It seems to me you're saying, well, the organization will correct itself. We will peruse what you're recommending. We may not implement all of it. In fact, we may not implement any of it at all. We will correct ourselves if need be.
Well, remember, Thabo, what you do, an organization like the ANC, which conforms to process, and this point has been well articulated in our statement. Those of our cadres who have been mentioned or appeared before the commission, it now follows that they will also be, and some of them have already done it, I'm just not at liberty to actually go into the work that the Integrity Commission has been doing. They've already appeared before the Integrity Commission to also give their own vision. The ANC, as a self-respecting organization, cannot say to its cadres, go and appear before the before the State Commission on State Capture. After appearing before the Commission on State Capture, we then come back and say, hey, given what came up there, now decide that we want to criminalize or prejudice cadres in a certain way. That was not the intention. The consequence of cadres appearing before the Commission cannot then be used as a form of machination or weaponization against them. We wanted them to appear as an organization so that they are able to provide the necessary clarity out of this. And this point we made even when we went to the president in his capacity as president of the ANC to the Commission on State Capture, that what are the lessons that we are going to learn? It is for the first time that the young democracy like ours has had to affirm a commission such as the one that we had ourselves in our 2017 National Conference in Nazareth. Part of the decisions we took as a resolution was to support the establishment of this commission. And throughout its work, we have consistently maintained the position that is well articulated even in our own resolution. Those of our cadres who have already appeared before the commission, they will now also be appearing before the Integrity Commission to provide that kind of clarity, so that in doing our own report, because look at it this way, part of the things could mean, do we need to change how we operate as an organization? On matters such as
let's talk about that exactly. On matters such as the appointment committee, the appointment of chair of boards, and the appointment of those who run particular SOEs. The recommendation is that a standing appointment and oversight committee be established. Would the ANC be against an establishment of that nature that is headed by civil society, by labor representatives, by some in the legal profession, some in those particular fields that which the SOE operates, but that allows for the broader public to have input as to who actually goes into those positions?
Well, Thabo, you see, the principles of deployment are again driven by a broad thrust. They are based on skills. It doesn't necessarily mean that alone being an ANC cadre with certain political credentials would qualify you to occupy a position of responsibility. There's got to be a demonstration that you have got skills inherent in you, the requisite capacity to be able to fulfill a certain role. It is important that an organization like the ANC, and where it governs, takes such an interest. It's a universal principle, because when you go to elections, You contest elections on the basis of a manifesto. A manifesto details and captures the promise you are making to the citizens. It also means at the back of that manifesto must be the requirement of a skill set of consciousness. This consciousness must be driven by those who subscribe to your own ideological stand as a party. You cannot take individuals who do not submit to your own ideological positions and then say, okay, go and help me implement a manifesto which was the product of me emerging as a governing party.
But that is allowed.
But can I conclude my point? Because that alone, I'm sorry about this, that alone, Thabo, is not sufficient. You need individuals who are skilled. If somebody must run Denel, for instance, you have got to make sure that they've got the necessary experience, either in the military, on governance issues, on matters of audit and all of that. The president went at length today to talk about some of the SOEs and what would have been the expressions of the state capture, the Commission on State Capture, around how those SOEs were being ran. These are lessons that the ANC ought to learn. But what we cannot do is to establish a broad civil society structure that must suddenly deal with deployment and all of that. We still have got to make sure that those appointed into positions of responsibility have got the requisite skills.
But we've done that kind of process, Pule, for example, for an appointment of a public protector where there's broad consultation with the public and they also have input in their views on who occupies those positions. Why can't we do that with the chairs of boards and who occupies positions of CEO and controlling particular SOEs?
But remember, you still call, if you talk a board, a board, for instance, a board like the SABC, for instance, you even allow a process where Parliament even participates. These individuals who want to be in the board or have been nominated to serve in the board are invited for interviews. These interviews are put on broadcast, shown on television, so that the public could have a fair view on whether these men and women who are nominated to serve in those boards have got the requisite capacity and skills to be able to fulfill the task.
No, it didn't particularly happen now. We were told that here's the board of ESCOM. I mean, how they were appointed, it wasn't quite a transparent process.
Well, I think you will agree with me that the board of ESCOM, and given the kind of energy issues that we had, we needed to move with certain speed. I would not, for instance, I don't have before me a framework of appointments of all of the boards. Boards are different, and boards require different skill sets. Of course, because ESCOM is a topical issue, we are facing problems of load shedding in the country and all of that. We are all taking interest on the leadership of ESCOM, whether at a level of governance or at a level of operations. We want to know, who are these people? Do they have the skills required by this institution? So that when we come and raise concerns, as members of the public, as members of the African National Congress, before we are members of the ANC, Thabo, we must not be excluded from society as a whole. We are members of society before we are members of political parties.
Let's take this one. I literally have a minute left because I've got to go. But here's the thing. In your statement today, you're saying we distance ourselves from those who have been involved. What does distance ourselves mean? What does it look like? There are a number of highly prominent members of the NEC who have been involved in the report, who are suggested that they must be investigated, possible prosecution. What does it mean in terms of your statement?
Well, what it means is that those individuals found to be in the wrong, there is no way that the ANC would associate with those, especially if there is material evidence implicating them on wrongdoing. So the ANC as a party has got, you see, Thabo, maintaining high moral ground requires that the ANC unequivocally expresses itself out there in the public on what its positions are. The ANC must say all of the things that have undermined the standing and credibility of the organization in the party that have also led to our own electoral decline. The ANC can no longer associate with those.
All right.
The ANC will have to be clear that if you know that you are in the wrong, you can no longer continue to associate with this organization of OR Tambo, because this organization is an instrument that must carry forward the transformation of the rest of society. It means that it must be beyond reproach. Those that lead it must also be beyond reproach.
Pule, we'll engage you a little bit further. I would like to have you in the studio so we can talk more as we peruse the details of the action plan of the president. But I thank you for your time.